London has erupted with noise and energy just moments ago as tens of thousands of people filled the streets in a massive show of anger and frustration. What started as a calm gathering quickly turned into one of the largest crowds the city has seen this year. And now, pressure is rising sharply on Prime Minister Keir Starmer as the situation grows louder, more emotional, and impossible to ignore. Only minutes ago, central London was shaken by the roar of nearly 50,000 people gathering with signs, flags, and chants that echoed through the streets. The crowd began forming earlier in the day, but within a short time, the number grew far beyond what police had expected. The main area of the protest stretched from Parliament Square to the nearby streets, filling every open space with people demanding attention. Witnesses say the noise was so intense that it could be heard several blocks away, and the atmosphere shifted from calm to urgent as more groups joined in. Videos from the scene show long lines of people marching together, some holding banners, others recording on their phones, and many chanting in unison. The streets around Westminster became almost impossible to move through as the crowd pressed closer toward government buildings. Police officers formed lines along the barriers, trying to keep pathways open and prevent the protest from spilling into restricted areas. Several officers could be seen guiding traffic away as cars and buses struggled to get out of the growing congestion. The gathering was not only large, it was emotional. People were shouting, debating, and pointing toward Parliament as if urging the government to respond immediately. Some raised their voices in anger, while others looked worried or exhausted, showing just how deeply this issue has affected many lives. The energy of the crowd was intense, and every minute brought more people pouring in from nearby streets and underground stations. What stood out the most was the unity of the group. Different ages, backgrounds, and communities stood side by side, sharing the same frustration. Many held signs expressing their demands, while others used megaphones to call for accountability. Even those watching from a distance could feel the tension rising as the chants grew louder and more coordinated. The entire area around Parliament looked like a sea of movement, waves of people pushing forward, raising their voices and refusing to stay silent. Local shop owners and passers-by described the scene as something they could not believe. Some said they felt nervous, while others said they were inspired by how quickly people came together. The police presence increased steadily throughout the hour, but officers remained mostly observant, focusing on crowd control rather than direct confrontation. As helicopters circled overhead, it became clear that this was not just another demonstration. This was a moment that would send shockwaves through the political sphere. The protest's size alone puts heavy pressure on the government, but the suddenness of it makes the situation even more serious. This was not a slow build-up. This was a surge, fast, powerful, and impossible to overlook. And with emotions running high and the crowd continuing to grow, the message being sent to Prime Minister Keir Starmer is direct and unavoidable. People are demanding change, and they are demanding it right now. The massive crowd in London didn't appear out of nowhere. People came together today because frustration has been building for weeks, and many say they have finally reached a breaking point. The reasons behind this huge protest are tied to a mix of political decisions, rising public anger, and a feeling that the government is not listening. Over the past few days, social media posts, online groups, and community pages were filled with calls for action, urging people to come out and show their dissatisfaction. What happened today is the result of that growing wave of concern and the belief that the government has failed to address urgent problems. Many of the people in the crowd spoke about decisions made by Prime Minister Keir Starmer's government that they feel have had negative effects on everyday life. Some pointed to economic issues, rising costs, higher bills, and worries about job security. Others expressed anger about recent policy changes they believe are unfair or harmful. While not everyone in the crowd agreed on every detail, most shared the same message. They are tired of waiting for improvement. They feel promises have been made but not delivered, and their patience has run out. Another major factor driving today's protest is the sense that the government has not been fully transparent. Several protesters argued that key decisions have been made behind closed doors without proper explanation or public consultation. This has led to a growing belief among many people that their voices do not matter and that those in power are disconnected from the struggles of ordinary citizens. This frustration has now spilled onto the streets, where people are demanding clear communication and honest answers. The protest is also fueled by emotional reactions to recent national events. Over the last few weeks, tension has risen as news reports highlighted issues affecting different communities across the country. From concerns about public services to debates over national security, many citizens feel overwhelmed by a series of difficult situations happening at the same time. Today's gathering reflects all these frustrations coming together at once, creating a powerful collective message that the government cannot ignore. What makes this protest stand out is the diversity of reasons people came out to march. Some joined because they are worried about their future. Others came because they want fairness, stability, or accountability. There were families, young adults, workers, and older citizens, all united by a shared feeling that something needs to change. This is not one group or one voice, it is a mix of different experiences blending into one loud demand for action. The protest signs captured this wide range of concerns, from economic struggles to political criticism, each one showing a personal story behind the larger movement. As more people arrived, the message grew stronger. The country is facing problems that cannot be ignored any longer. Protesters said they are standing together because they believe silence is no longer an option. They want their government to see them, to hear them, and most importantly, to act. The size of the gathering shows how deeply the frustration runs and how strongly people feel about the direction the country is heading. This is why tens of thousands stepped onto the streets today, turning their fears and anger into a clear warning for the nation's leadership. As the dust begins to settle over central London, the big question on everyone's mind is what happens next? The government is now under immense pressure, and the events of today are likely to have far-reaching effects on both politics and public life. Authorities are carefully assessing the situation, with officials reviewing security measures, crowd control strategies, and emergency response plans. The immediate focus will be on keeping the peace, while ensuring that the voices of tens of thousands of citizens are acknowledged, without allowing chaos to spread further. Prime Minister Keir Starmer and his advisers are reportedly monitoring the protests closely. Behind closed doors, discussions are taking place on how to respond, whether through public statements, policy adjustments, or outreach to community leaders. The sheer size of the crowd and the emotional intensity make it clear that ignoring the situation is no longer an option. Political analysts are already predicting that today's protests could influence decisions at the highest levels of government, potentially reshaping strategies, speeches, and upcoming legislation. For the police and city officials, managing the aftermath of the protest is just as important as handling the demonstration itself. Clean-up, traffic management, and maintaining safety in surrounding areas are all pressing concerns. London's transport system, which was severely affected during the march, will need to return to normal, and emergency services must remain ready in case tensions flare again. While today remained largely peaceful, there is always the risk of smaller clashes or unexpected incidents, and authorities are prepared to respond swiftly to prevent escalation. The political impact on Starmer's government could be significant. A protest of this scale signals widespread public dissatisfaction and could embolden opposition parties to demand accountability. Analysts suggest that this moment may mark a turning point where public opinion starts to heavily influence policy decisions. Leaders in Parliament may feel compelled to act faster, engage with communities, or reconsider controversial measures to restore public trust. In the coming days, statements from ministers, press conferences and parliamentary debates are likely to dominate headlines, with everyone watching closely to see how the Prime Minister addresses the concerns raised by today's crowd. Beyond politics, the protest could also have social and cultural consequences. Citizens who witnessed or participated in the march may continue to organise, share information and mobilise support online and offline. Activist groups could gain momentum, creating pressure for change on a broader scale. Today's gathering may inspire more public engagement in